you. This time, 0, repeat, forever. Now this is a personal favorite book of mine now, so it's like 5 out of 5 plus a favorite. Fucking love this thing. It is amazing. I can't wait for the second one to come out. I know this one just came out, so it's gonna be a while, but I can't wait for the second one because it is fucking amazing. Every aspect of it is amazing. The built world is just beyond pretty much what I've seen in books in general in a while. It's very much a sci-fi, but it's still based on Earth, so we're not talking like spaceships up in the sky kind of crappy sci-fi. We're talking here on Earth, aliens invading, but they're a little different than you think. And it is definitely a little bit of a romance novel, but it's a monstrous romance novel between a human and an inhuman, where the inhuman doesn't fully understand human shit and does ridiculous shit all the time, and has some anger issues. My kind of romance, basically. My particular brand of monstrous romance. The main characters, both of them are quality characters, Raven and 8th/August. I say 8th/August because he's got 2 fucking names, basically. And how he gets the August name is just fucking adorable. It's so cute. It's so sweet. And pretty much, the book goes really slowly up until the point where Raven and August actually meet. Before that, the book is kind of slow and pacey. My only, major complaint in the book that actually, bothers me is you flip between the 2 characters' minds, basically. Like, this one's from Raven, and then it'll switch to 8th/August all the time. 8th/August's parts are way fucking shorter than Raven's parts. Like, sometimes he gets 3 sentences for a chapter, and that's it. Sometimes he has 3 pages, but Raven will get 7 or 8 pages in her chapters. I don't like that. I want more August. I want more of him, not more of Raven. I get why there's more Raven than there is August, because Raven's the human. She's more relatable. It's easier for a reader to relate to her. Though, personally, I relate more to August than I do to Raven by a long shot. And the other, I guess, reason to have it this way is it keeps August kind of mysterious and an unknown, which it does help the book, but I honestly would have loved this book even more if it had been entirely from the point of view of August, probably, because that would have just been fucking great. I almost want them to release an edition of this that is literally just from August's point of view, and then release another edition that's just from Raven's point of view. I would read both, I would love both, because both would be great, because this book is great. But the August one would be better, because August is by far better than Raven. But Raven's also great, so... I really like this fucking book. And it is really because of the way the interactions between August and Raven is set up, with August just being this alien thing that is, the most miserable, depressive creature ever. He is set up to be, the definition of the most miserable, beat-down, abused, yet innocent wretch ever. The shit this poor boy goes through is ridiculous, and his personality shows that he's fucking miserable, and he doesn't know what to do, and his brain is all kinds of messed up and broken. And it is really weird to read it from a character who's constantly losing memories and forgetting things. It is kind of weird to read from that, but at the same time it's kind of nice, because I don't have the world's greatest memory, so it's hey, a person that forgot what happened yesterday! Like me! Yay! Though, the amount that August, down-talks himself is almost excessive. Is very frequent. He'll call himself defective, or just broken, really, or stupid. That happens an awful lot. And the twist in the book with August not being able to speak, so he only communicates with, hand signs, and not, the sign language that we're used to, but different kind of hand signs, is really fucking unique, and it does add a lot to the book. It actually does come into play. Because when August and Raven are around each other, Raven can't understand him, because he's just sitting there going, and she's sitting there what? And it's cute. And of course, over time, she picks up his hand signals and stuff, and that's just great. And there is definitely a big twist ending to this, and I really wouldn't recommend spoiling that for yourself, because it's like, yes, kind of out of nowhere spoiler. You don't predict it. You kind of have a feeling of what might happen, but you can't actually really predict it. And part of that is because August's mind and thought is just kind of out there, that it's a little bit nonsensical sometimes. And because half the time he doesn't even know what's going on anyway. And one of the scenes in this book that's just like, yes, that's not a spoiler anyway, this is not a spoiler, is the part where August just starts throwing dirty dishes off the balcony because he can't be bothered to wash them. It's like, that is such a teenager thing to do. And it's something that if I had endless dishware, I would do that. It'd just be like, no, I wash the shit, throw it off the balcony. And the amount of joy he gets just from the dishes like falling to the ground and going crash is just hilarious. And even though his outbursts of anger are like borderline cruel to Raven, okay, they're full-on cruel to Raven most of the time, it still manages to be endearing just because of August's character and how he's built up. And you wind up feeling more bad for him than anything else. And even Raven says this in the book, is that the guy is really, 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 really good at being remorseful and saying sorry. Well, signing sorry and trying to beg for forgiveness and everything. Even though he doesn't know the word forgive. So that is just like, yeah. It's just adorable. But outside of Raven and August, there are other characters, of course, but they're less focused on in the book because, well, the good portion of the book is just Raven and August off by themselves, and the book's told from their point of view, so it's just the two of them for a lot of the book. The other characters are very much there, and they are actually dynamic. They change, they grow and evolve as people. The exception is characters that are only there for, like, 1 or 2 chapters. There are some characters that are only there for 1 or 2 chapters. But, like, the guy in the book, Raven starts off with a boyfriend, and then that boyfriend's brother. That boyfriend's brother, I can't remember his name because, well, the only names I remember is Raven and August because I love them. But that boyfriend's brother, he starts out really endearing and sweet, but by fuck does his flavor become really goddamn sour later on. Like, I hate him. I just hate him. He does stupid shit, like reasonable stupid shit, but still stupid shit. It's the kind of thing that most guys would probably do in this kind of situation. But he's still stupid, and I don't like him. He fucks everything up. And there is, like, one other character who's another human, who just, his only purpose is he wants to make Raven hurt. He just wants to make her day bad. So I don't like him because of that. But he does serve a purpose in the series, but I can't explain that purpose. And the monsters, the aliens, I guess you could say, the Nahx. I'm not even sure if Nahx is how they're properly pronounced. It's like N-A-H-X. But I go with Nahx because that just sounds right. There's pretty much no other Nahx in the book that have an actual personality put to them, which is actually the way it's supposed to be, because these Nahx are supposed to all pretty much just be soldiers that do their orders, and that's it. No person, just orders. And August is kind of the odd character out, because his brain is broken and fucked up. The only one that you can really bring up that you see throughout the book an awful lot is 6th, or I guess August's 6th, because the naming system is a little bit weird. All the Nahx are like named a number of 1. Well, 1st through 12th. So there's like a shit ton of different 8s and 6s and everything, which is kind of complicated. But it doesn't get confusing in the book, which I was impressed by. I thought it would get confusing, but it doesn't get confusing at all. But August's 6th is a bitch. I don't like her. She is horrible and mean and cruel. Like, there's one point where she, like, is literally described as having murdered a dog, like, ripped it in half, just to upset its human owners, so she could laugh at them before killing them. Like, that's just mean. she's a bitch and I hate her. I don't like her. But she's an example of the way the Nahx are supposed to be, not giving a shit about the humans and just darting them. And, like, with the cover, though, look at this fucker. It's fucking gorgeous. This is another example of a book I bought because the cover is gorgeous. I love it. And at first, I didn't get what the fuck this cover means. Zero repeat forever. I mean, it took me forever to actually remember the title of this book. And I didn't get it. It makes sense. It's a reference to The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. So there's an awful lot of Edgar Allan Poe in this book, so if you really like Edgar Allan Poe, I would recommend this even more, because The Raven gets brought up an awful lot. Basically, Zero Repeat Forever is kind of a play on the term nevermore. It basically just means nevermore forever, kind of a thing. But it's done in the Nahx kind of speech, because the Nahx say repeat an awful lot. So, and then you've got the little funky symbol on here, which this makes no sense unless you don't read the book. But if I tell you that I kind of spoil shit on what exactly this little thing means. But it makes sense if you read the book. And only if you read the book. And the nice thing is even on the inside, look at it! It's still pretty! Sure, the side's blank, but that is still pretty. Because I hate it. Hate it when you take off dust covers and the book underneath is ugly. This is not that way. It is still pretty underneath. It is still goddamn pretty. Better with this, but... So, I honestly... I would really, 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 really fucking recommend this book, like, massively. Like, read it now, immediately. It's fantastic. It's great. Especially if you like romances between humans and non-humans. Especially if you like that, then you pretty much must read this, because it's fucking great. Just full-on fucking great. And I can't wait to read the next one, because it's so good. Like, immediately after finishing this book, I immediately went and reread it. 2 days later, I reread it for a third time. That's how fucking good this thing is. I fucking daydreamed that I was reading this to somebody else because I wanted to read it out loud. It's so fucking good. And it does kind of weird me out a little bit because I did a poll thing on what people thought of this book, and like a lot of people gave it like 1 star and didn't rate it very well. I don't get that. So if you've read this book and you disliked it, like, feel free to tell me why, because I don't know why anyone would dislike this book, because it is perfect. And I love it. It is great. Easily one of my favorite books. Easily. Just love this sucker. It's so good. So, but with this being a new release, I don't expect most of you to having had read it, but if you have, then tell me what you think of it, because I fucking love it. If you haven't read it, go out and read it, because it's great. Originally, I got to read this for free from Riveted, because they were doing a free read thing where you could just read it for free off their website, because normally I don't go for sci-fi. Alien invasion thing is kind of whatever to me, but fuck, it's perfect. It's perfect. And there are definitely a lot of parts in here that might make you, like, shed tears of sadness, but also, like, laugh violently at the same time, because something was just ridiculous or hilarious, whilst also being, like, utterly depressing. Yeah. So, I really recommend this book. It's fucking great.